fix itself. Okay. So I guess this is the fourth one that I'm doing. Sorry, and I'm getting started later than I had wanted. I think I'll only do 2 cards maybe this evening. But there were a couple of things with the Melanie Griffith in the last cards that came up. Melanie Griffith, was married to Antonio Banderas and lived in Spain, the Marbella area. Marbella was taken over by the Russian mafia. I don't know. I guess after Franco. But that's another thing. Like Antonio Banderas, ¿Dónde estás? Penelope Cruz is another one who should take a hard look at what I have put together about Spain, and your support would be great, because really, quite frankly, I don't think that you would disagree with me, and you are Spanish citizens, and particularly Antonio Banderas, who's from the Malaga area, and lived in Marbella area. We had a timeshare in Portabanus. Quite frankly, I never liked going there, because I remember I tell my ex, particularly when we had the house in Madrid, I'm like, wait a second, we got this huge garden with the swimming pool, and I got my kitchen, I have everything here. And Portabanus, if we want to go to the beach, because of course we weren't on the front line of the beach, we had to take the car. I was like, are you kidding? This is worse than the traffic jam trying to get into Madrid. Why would you leave one traffic jam to go to another? So also we've been spoiled by the beaches in Punta Cana. In fact, Julio Iglesias' house, at least which he had there before, it is right next to the Club Med, where we used to go. I mean, I have to say, the family Club Meds, I loved. The single ones were, I never went. I heard about it when I was in college, and I was like, yeah, no, there's one, it was my roommate's friend. She said it was an F-a-thon. I mean, I was like, how can you ladies enjoy that? Whatever. So, oh gosh. Okay. Oh, and I also forgot. I was leaving and tired, but to wear your masks. Actually, this, I am getting interference. This is, which I wear. Oops. I mean, I have my hair tied up, and so it doubles. I mean, it is originally a headband. But that also, this is something that I hope, I mean, I don't know, I've done my due diligence in sending all of the possible, links to Governor Cuomo. I still am not sure because I don't speak Italian, but in Spanish, como is COMO. So I'm not, I mean, as I say, I don't speak Italian. But you know, one of the issues that comes into my case, or my family, and you know, just all of the game playing and all of the bullshit, because this really gets into my father rather than mine. But if I had been, you know, able to start my company and do all that I wanted to do, I mean, the first thing that I would have done is get my parents into a you know, stable living situation. That's a long story. I won't get into my parents' story, but you know, one of the things that, because my father, he's a cardiologist, or he was a cardiologist, but he's world known for his research, his pioneer research in thrombosis. In the 60s and 70s, I have a profile for him on LinkedIn. It's also on my LinkedIn profile page. There's a link there that links it to him, because I mean, you know, I run that, I mean, run it. I have it there because that's where I put, you know, his resume, and I still haven't finished because the lectures that he did in the South Pacific, they still haven't finished. But however, so he was very polemic in the United States because the treatment of thrombosis was too expensive. So the American government, you know, what is it, the Medicare, Medicaid, you know, would never reimburse it. It was just, it was too expensive. Also, there's a lot of stuff, backstabbing. I mean, this goes on in all of the professions at the high levels. I mean, he was one of the top cardiologists in the country, and maybe the world. But so the Russians and the Chinese, and you know, the public healthcare systems, the doctors in those systems were interested in it. And so he got a lot of much better reception in Russia, China, and they used to, when I was young, when we were living in Tucson, you know, they'd go on like a month trip or something. My aunt would come and stay with us, or we would have these, there's a whole slew of stories, because we'd have the like couples, like doctor, you know, students that or people who were doing the residence or something, and stay with us when they went. But so it was always much more, you know, it was well received there, but not in the United States because it was too expensive. And also my father, well, maybe not quite as vocal as I am, and gotten against the judicial system and the legal system, but he also, you know, always, I mean, this is also why I know the same problems in the legal system and the judicial system is happening in the healthcare system, because he also was very concerned about public policy. And he was always telling me, clean water, clean water. I'm like, I'm no dad, but somebody in Washington, you know, nobody listens to anything. And he also, when he was, you know, just starting out, it was in the 50s, I forget which year it was, the pandemic, I forget, it was 52 or 59. But there was a pandemic then. I believe it was, I forget what it was called. But he, you know, he was working in emergency rooms, and And, you know, he was always, there's another one coming, there's another one coming, and they're not prepared, they're not prepared, they're not prepared. You know, he was very concerned with all of the mess within our public healthcare system. There's a couple other words, but I don't want to swear. Anyway, the thrombosis, and I mean, I hope Governor Cuomo is listening. If you talk to any of the cardiologists familiar with the thrombosis, you know, everybody kind of recognizes now that, yeah, because my father always said that it was the treatment in the United States was just like a high dosage of aspirin, and it wasn't working, and they've recognized that how many years later. So he, yeah, they were not happy being locked up at the nursing home at the end. So they were, he was always driving across country, and they were visiting sheep farms, and he was looking at the placenta. And you know, anybody in thrombosis, and they'll understand exactly why. I was talking to med students one time. They're like, yeah. So I'm not a doctor. I don't know all of the things, but and in fact, they were looking at sheep farms because the pork placenta is, you know, for religious reasons, and so they're wondering, they're more like, you people, because I mean, they're in their 80s and they're still traveling across country in their car, and we're just going, oh yeah, you're no longer in your 40s, 50s, or even 60s, but you know, that if that's how, it's better than be locked up. I mean, when we don't, when that's not your bag particularly. So anyway, when I saw, I'm getting off track, but when I saw the Kawasaki disease, particularly with the COVID, because there was a lot of thrombosis issues I've seen, but it was particularly the Kawasaki disease and the hands that they had on the internet. I was like, oh my God, those are the hands that I've seen all my life, because, and that's a document that's on his LinkedIn profile. You know, the gangrene, they're starting the gangrene hands, and he had, you know, amazing success with that. So as I say, that needs to be looked at by you know, the experts. See, we do need experts sometimes, but not just a bunch of PhDs that never graduated from kindergarten and the think tanks. But please, I mean, one of the things that I promised him before he passed away, I said, I will never let your research and your work die. And I mean, this is something that's angering me, because if I had been given a voice, you know, I would have passed along, we have all the notes and a lot of information. I mean, unfortunately, he passed away, and that's a lot more information, but you know, pass it along to who can do something with it, because I know this is an issue, and I you know, I also know that I mean, wasn't always right. Like, I'm not always right, but we do our homework, and believe me, one of the things that was so nice at the memorial ceremony, the woman who had, you know, been a nurse, worked for him, she said the patients, when if they would wake up in the hospital and my father would be sitting next to them, they knew they were in trouble. Because I mean, you know, really most of I think all of his patients were, you know, critical type of situations. And she said that they also would knew that they were going to survive because your dad was there. I thought that was nice. Well, yeah, how many times did we go out to restaurants and end up waiting in the parking lot of the emergency wards? I don't know, an hour or two, forever. But oh, this is why I also hate those smartphones and this, you know, you got to be available 24/7. No, I mean, I grew up with that, but when there's, you know, somebody who die, if, you know, you know, he had his beeper. In those days, it was just his beeper. So we always had a beeper. So we had to find a phone. But, you know, that I get. But did you want me to respond to some bullshit? Yeah, you know, I mean, I've been clear about that whole smartphone and this, you know, immediate response to whatever you want the second you want. I'm like, no, I don't do that. The only two people I do that for in this world are my two children. I mean, that's past decade that's been on, but I am still there for them whenever. So you know, I hope your or somebody in your entourage is there, or anybody else, and can get that into the right hands, because the information is there. So oh, another thing that I did want to mention, I am, and I think Andrew Cuomo will understand and agree with me, I do refer to Andrew Cuomo right now as Governor Cuomo, because we are talking about when he was governor, the allegations against him, and just for consistency on that issue. However, Governor Cuomo is now Mr. Cuomo. And so are all of the former presidents, former Secretary of State, Treasury, congressional members. When you are an elected official, when, you know, you lose that position and you step down for that position, you know, whether you're voted out for whatever reason, you no longer have the right to use that title. I mean, and this might seem, I know, semantics, but it's not. And this gets into, you know, protocol. And believe me, oh my Lord, my mother was like up for the wazoo about protocol, the manners, the etiquette. So yeah, you can go overboard. However, particularly, I mean, I was horrified when I came back to the United States, and like Secretary Clinton, because but she's not secretary anymore. Yeah, but we use that title. I was like, no, she's not Secretary Clinton anymore. Senator, when she's senator, yes, you use that title, but it's not, because this is getting into, you know, an aristocracy. So I, you know, I want to offend Mr. Cuomo, Governor Cuomo, Mr. Cuomo. As I point out, I'm going to be referring to him as Governor Cuomo, even though officially right now it's Mr. Cuomo. And I hope you'll understand why I'm making that point. Let's see. Oh, yeah. I had posted. I haven't posted it on the playlist for Governor Cuomo's stuff, but I did. There was some I have videos of well, house where I'm living in that I'm gathering evidence. I mean, I don't think anyone wants to look through all of that. I don't want to look through all of that. I'm just gathering it for the courts. But and I had no problem. They really pushed my buttons, lately. So I said, okay, I'll put it all public and everybody can see what you're doing. There I have no issue. However, there's other some other videos that I have as private, but I did put two that and this came into a comment and that really also pissed me off, and something that I want to clarify. That Governor Cuomo resigning is not an admission of guilt in any way, shape, or form. I totally agree with him. I mean, it's going to work in his favor, so I'm glad for that. We'll see what happens with the financial markets and banking systems when the bucket is dry. So in the end, it will work in his favor. However, the reason that he resigned, and rightfully so, is with the media, the paparazzi, and the circus that everybody, and that was the intention here, would make out of this, is it would detract attention away from the governors and his staff and his offices, daily duties and obligation to New Yorkers. So this is in no way, shape, or form an admission of guilt. In fact, I think if he was guilty, it would have acted like Trump and said, nobody getting me out of here. So in fact, him stepping out of that for the good of the governorship is more, if you will, circumstantial, but something that weighs in the balance in his favor. Yeah, and so that was something that really was pet peeve of mine. The other comment that, and I guess why I posted that, they should be believed. These women come out, whatever they say, they should be believed when it's convenient for the feminist with their little agenda. But that's not the reality on behind the scenes in all of the cases. I mean, when I got involved with the activists and the demonstrations, I mean, I was astounded at the quantity of women who were like, oh yeah, but she's lying. These are amongst the victims. And there are a lot of women who lie. This is why, and men who lie. This is why evidence and fact checking and competent legal assistance and competent courts are so essential in this matrix. I mean, my sister, after all of these years, it is even like, you're being ridiculous. You just need to go back to your ex-husband. Say that. I'll stay off that subject right now, but that's what pushed my butt. I mean, it just, there are too many people out of control. No accountability. No conscience. No morals. No scruples. Does anybody remember what was the show? Scruples. Dallas, Dynasty, Scruples. That's the role models that everybody's following. I always say that my fight with the feminists, wherever I go, whether with my lawyers in Spain, I'm always like, you remember the fountain fight between Crystal and Alexis Carrington in Dynasty? That's my fight with the feminist. I'm Crystal, they're Alexis. Believe me, once you get in, if you ever would sit down in a group with all of these victims, you'd be like, oh my Lord, you people, how can you joke about these things? Either you learn to do that or you really do lose it. So, and this gets into, I was just seeing today, I didn't watch all of it, quite frankly, but there are some very interesting things that it highlights, but I didn't want to watch this today. It was about a movie about Clinton's impeachment. It was called The Hunting of the President. I think I saw it on Amazon. Morgan Freeman. But what's really interesting about this movie is, I mean, I don't think it's totally biased. I think it is biased. I don't think it's objective, but there is evidence, or at least the narrative that they're giving is, and this is the game, this is why I believe it, it was, oh no, this is how we want to set up Clinton. Now let's produce the evidence. This is the narrative, now let's produce the evidence. And that's what they go into Kenneth Starr and George Conway. His name's mentioned in that, and Monty, that little coup. So I find that very, very interesting. Very interesting. What a pair, George Conway and Kellyanne. So anyway, and this whole thing with Prince Alice, this religious awakening, because I know I'm gonna get that flack. Get the same type of thing from my family, that I've become wacko, religious wacko or something, it's with the tarots that I'm doing now. But I can assure you, my stance on religion and God and all of that has never changed. The only thing that's changed is I've been a lifelong agnostic, and I've had some lengthy conversations with people about that. An agnostic is not the same as an atheist. My ex-husband's family were all atheists. My mother couldn't believe that I wasn't marrying a Catholic, one who had been baptized, but a Spaniard. So Anyway, my problem with religion and God was I never had any problem with the principles of the Torah, the Quran, or the Bible, the fundamentals. I just couldn't understand how a benevolent God would produce so many religions in his name that produced so many atrocities. And it's across the board. Everybody's guilty. It's like when I was walking with a bunch of kids running around fighting, and I'm like, everybody in the room a mess. Everybody's guilty, and everybody's got to clean it up. So I could never, growing up, there was too much hypocrisy in the whole thing. But, past 15 years and all the research that I've done, because I have looked, of course, not as much into religion, but, mainly the Christian religion. Of course, this gets into also my research into the Puritan movement, which is under Thomas, which started under, well, it was one of the founding documents. 1571, the Puritan Manifesto, which is admonitions to Parliament, and that was Thomas Wilcox. There was actually another one that a century later, the Fable of Bees. It's another Thomas Wilcox. Something. Oh, honey, I always have to Google that to get the entire name. The drop of rock Christ of honey or something. I always have to Google to get the exact name. So and that my father helped me a lot about with that, because when we went to England and London, we went to Westminster Abbey, and my father said, okay, 5 quid to whoever can find Dean Wilcox, because they have all the names. So of course, for 5 quid, my older sister, she's not going to die for eucalyptus trees for a penny in the fluent Tucson, but for 5 quid, she'll find Dean Wilcox, and she was the one who found it. But that's also what's very sad, because oh my goodness, his knowledge of history was incredible, as much as medicine. In his 80s, my mother had gotten ill. He was the one who diagnosed it. My brother's girlfriend had a problem. My father was the one who diagnosed it, and it stumped all the other doctors. So I guess, a lot of because I have a note about networking. Like in Bogota, somebody told me, I don't think that the person who had told them meant it as a compliment, but the person who heard it took it as a compliment because she repeated it to me. She said, oh, this was one of the coffee mornings. She said, I was told to come and ask you because you know who everyone is and where everything is in this city. Because I didn't spend my day at the country club. I spent my day schmoozing, with all of that, the embassies, the ambassadors, all of those diplomats and the corporate, that was part of the world. But also, while we're in the country club, I was down in the downtown. I went to a jewelry school, and it was, everybody there were, middle-class Colombians. Most of them were learning a trade. And I kept a very low profile. They say, don't, no da papaya. I mean, I always have black shirt, black pants. If I had a, luncheon or something, I have my stuff in the car and then I put on my jewelry and accessorize. But, very low key. Nobody knew who my husband was. Where, when anybody, oh, where do you live? I'm like, oh, that's another thing. Until one of the ladies from the French embassy came with her telephone and she's like, oh, la embajadora. She shut your freaking mouth. And then of course, the beans was spilled. Even one of the women, well, she wasn't learning a trade. She lived not far from me. In fact, her husband exported flowers, and I had talked to her about her husband about exportation of artisan. I mean, that was a different thing, but I was just talking about, the process of exportation from Colombia. But then she goes, well, wait a second. Quenby's the one with the driver, which I never said, he was a bodyguard. And the big car that she always comes in. So she's not the important one here. I mean, she didn't put it like that, but like, okay, my bridge is burned because I think there might have been a plan to kidnap me. I don't know. You see, this is also, oh gosh, with the security things. I won't go there because that's a whole can of worms. You got to take it seriously, but also you can't be paranoid. But I told my bodyguard, I said, okay, look, but somebody wanted to have a photo with me. And that's always an indication. You don't want to have your photo taken, because if there is a plan to kidnap you, then they have a photo of you. So, and I was like, see, these are little tiny things that you got to be on top of. But it's all of these little tiny things that my bodyguard in Bogota taught me. Man, okay, not totally, because I did live in Washington and work in Renaissance until 3 o'clock in the morning. Well, not till 3, but I'd be riding my bike through downtown DC, which is the murder capital of the world, in the 80s, as fast as I freaking can, because I know you don't stop. So I'm not totally naive. However, I've never been in a situation where I might be on a kidnapping list. Me and my family, and this was totally because of my ex-husband's job. But but those pointers and those little things are also what helped me to survive. When in Spain, I was like, well, at least in Bogota, they gave me a bodyguard. In Spain, I gotta fend for myself and watch my back. But I saw a lot of, I was like, don't tell me he is spending money to have a detective following me to go to the gym and the library every freaking day, because they shut down my computer. Everything was because they hacked in. I mean, that was crashed. There was, I was just in survival mode. So I did 6 hours a day of aerobics, and then the rest of the time I go to, there was a library nearby, and I'd be on their internet researching, starting my research. Oh, the ladies in the library, because I would come out because you could only stay an hour, and I would tell them, just tell me when somebody's got to come in and I'll leave, but can I just, and they knew I was working on this type of stuff, and so they were And I would come out and I would be like, oh, you can't believe what I just saw today. Oh my God. I'm looking at Amnesty International. Oh, I'm just starting and I'm like, oh, no puedo creer. No puedo creer. Oh, I think they'll remember me. But I'm like, don't tell me. You guys are blocking all the money. You're out of it, wasting money on a stupid detective to follow me? What are you gonna find out? I mean, it was crazy. It was crazy. Okay, so I guess in the last one, gosh, I've already gone on for an hour. Almost, and I haven't even started the cards. Maybe I'll do one. But in the last one, I think it was in the last one, because people keep on accusing me of being like treasonous. Treasonous to my family, treasonous to the country, treasonous to my friend, whoever, whatever. I don't know, because they'll never say things to my faces. You know, it's innuendos or gossiping behind my back. I'm not the one who's being treasonous. You know, the see something, say something. Dicho, the big thing, see something, say something in the metros or something. I keep on telling them it goes both ways. Yeah, if I see a package or something and I've done it, hey, you better, one time at GW, but I told the security guards, that was the 2016 spring meetings, I said, look, you guys, there's a package there, but I really think it was one of the dumb bimbos so busy taking the photo. That's what they come to Washington to do, is take the photos with their smartphones. They were so busy and so interested in that. I think the dumb idiot left her bag there, so I don't think it's a problem, but you got to check it out. I mean, you know, it's sitting there. It shouldn't be sitting there. So yes, I do say, but I say it also, and this is one example. One of my favorite examples is I was coming back from Chicago on the train, and I definitely, planes with the lines. I mean, I took the train from here. I had taken the plane as well. Cheaper, and the train much easier. You don't have to get out to the airport. You don't have to do all that freaking security. You just get on. Of course, the trip, you know, your trip in the train is much longer than your air trip. But my brother didn't have to come pick me up at the airport. I mean, it ended up not being that much longer. However, so on my way back, we're in, you know, seated. I guess it's getting a little, I mean, it's not late, but I guess maybe we had been on the train for maybe a half hour, an hour, I'm not, maybe more. But by this time we're kind of in the middle of nowhere. So anyway, this effectively, yes, this Black woman, there was a Black woman with her young daughter and her mother. Now the mother and the daughter were sitting on one side of the aisle, and the woman and some man that, you know, she didn't know, but she just happened, was sitting next to her. I was in the seats in front of the grandmother and daughter. So yes, the woman was loud and obnoxious. I mean, but nothing like, if some woman, I think there's a bitch white woman be right in front of her from from the way that she was looking and looking at me when I said something. Because if she had a problem that the woman was making too much noise, or I don't know, she didn't want to say something to the woman directly and say, could you please lower your voice? I'm trying to rest, whatever. But don't, or ask the conductor, could you please ask her to lower her voice, and let the conductor handle it. That's fine. But all of a sudden, out of nowhere, they're coming with, we're stopped. And so there's some police officers as well. The security people of the train come and eject the Black woman, her mother, and the daughter. And she's like 4 years old. I'm like, what are you people doing? You know, it was like 10 o'clock at night in the middle of nowhere. And I said, excuse me, what's going on here? I said, this is like so inappropriate and so over the top. The white bitch policewoman looked at me like, if you don't shut up, I'm going to throw you off the train as well. I was horrified, absolutely horrified. Like, well, I can't get thrown off the train here either because I don't have the money. You know, I'll be up a creek without a paddle as well. But I was horrified. So when I get to Union Station, I go customer service, give me a telephone number. I call them up. I tell them what happened. Okay, we'll take note. And I said, and what are you going to do to find that woman? Because I knew from the conversation that I overheard, they had no money. The ticket had been paid for to get, their ultimate destination was Miami. Now they're left in the middle of nowhere between Chicago and Washington, in the middle of the night. Is it, what are you going to do to find these people and get them to their ultimate destination? Nothing. I was like, do you not understand why people are starting to flip out? See something, say something. Goes both ways. And this is what I you know, it just this, oh no, if it's our buddies doing something wrong, we're not going to say anything. But if it's the foe, whoever the foe may be, free game. What is it? Fair game. Fair game. I love that movie. Gosh, where'd my glasses go now? Oh, great. Here they are. Okay. Oh gosh. It's been an hour. Really. I need to get a little bit more organized in my games. Okay, we'll just do one stack. Hopefully we won't get all feminist. But oh my goodness. Okay, let's take these. I'm not going to do all of these. Shoot. Okay. Now we do have some feminists in here. Okay. Oh my goodness. It's coming up almost all feminist again. I promise you, my goodness. The spirits don't like the feminists any more than I do. I mean, this whole thing about the feminists being some women's rights movement, it is not. It is not. It is not. It's for the power hungry bitches who just want all the power and everybody else to have no rights. That's their ultimate game. So the first one we got here is congressional hearing on July 27th, 21. Oh, is this 7? Yeah, no, because yeah, the 7th, that would be the congressional hearing for the January 6th. I guess went in July. Yeah, okay. That's an interesting one. Oh my goodness. Okay, we got White House, Obama, Biden with Bettinger Lopez. I've already talked about her. Jarrett Rivera, Samantha Powers, Ann Patterson. Oh gosh, this spirit really is. We go back to Succotash restaurant, but this brings in a specific case. Oh, my Lord, they are really mischievous. Okay, Queen Oprah and Meghan Markle. And Hollywood and Silicon Valley psychos. And we got 2 more feminist cards. Okay, what Expat Wives Club? Ooh. Yeah, this got Ann Beatrix Keller on here. Paula Lucas. Ooh, la 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 la. Oh, now this one I've already seen. So we've already seen this one. So, oh, this was the pack. This was the pile. Okay, so we'll take another one because I know we've already seen that one. Ooh, okay. And the last one is the NFL. This is Tom Brady, who I've heard the name. I know he's some big wig or something, but I'm going to use this more to talk about the NFL rather than specifically about him, because usually when there's a football game at this is when my kids, I mean, of course, now I'm never going to have anything to do with it. I'd be in the kitchen cooking, because my thing with football and all of these competitive sports, I'm like, let's a step up from the gladiators, but could you guys try and stop killing yourselves still? And I do but my sons are very, very, very Barça fans. So I usually will say, okay, what color are we rooting for? Could you tell me, so that I don't, because one time there was a goal and I said, oh, great. It was for the opposition. So that wasn't appreciated. So I said, okay, just let me know what color that I'm supposed to be rooting for. So anyway, everybody gets a coin. They're actually going to need some more coins. Let's start. Yeah, I really want to do Oprah. So let's start with the White House, Obama, Biden, Carrie Bettinger Lopez. I know I've mentioned her name several times. Ann Patterson. She's actually State Department, but she was also ambassador to Bogota when I was there. Samantha Powers, Jarrett, Valerie Jarrett, and Melaine Rivera. Yeah, okay. So Carrie Bettinger Lopez, I think I've mentioned her several times. She was the lead counsel in Gonzalez Linehan versus USA 2011, and then went over to sleep with the enemy, the American government, and took a job under Biden as advisor to the White House of Violence Against Women. Now, this is one of the reasons, I'm sure, because Martin Luther King had been offered a post, I forget what post, but some initiative or whatever they want to start, but they offered to, this would have probably, I mean, JFK, I'm not sure who was in then, but he was offered a position, but he declined because he knew it was a conflict of interest. He would be selling out the African Americans. At least I'm sure that was, I mean, I'm just supposing, but I'm sure that is the logical reason, because that's the case. So she just got in bed with the enemy. Now Ann Patterson was the because she's career State Department, and the typical feminist who I'd like to see how she's having it all. I also know her sons, by coincidence. I met them. I'll get into that. So, and her husband. So, my thing with Ann Patterson is when I was in Bogota, I went to the a presentation that the Congress, there were whole congressional members and State Department people who came to Bogota to, sell Plan Colombia. And so they did the same presentation for us that they had done for the officials or whoever they were meeting, for us, the American community at the embassy there. So of course I went. I mean, my sister wasn't there, but of course I went. And so I go and I listen to their whole presentation, their whole spiel about how all of this spraying is only going to affect the cocaine, the coca plants, and nothing else. None of the other plants, none of the livestock, none of the people. This is a miraculous pesticide. Wasn't Agent Orange or miraculous pesticide? So I mean, but okay, maybe not. This is not Agent Orange, but still, yeah. You already sold me that bullshit. So it was just the typical bullshit presentation. And at the end of the presentation, I stood up and I said to the State Department official who was presenting it, I said, well, sir, in front of everybody, I'm the only one who's standing up. Sir, it is all very well and good to get rid of the drug production in Colombia, but as long as the drug consumption is rising in the United States, I mean, I didn't add, but I know, and elsewhere, like in Europe, it will do no good to stop the production because the problem will just move elsewhere. Idiot, said, lady, what do you care as long as we get rid of it here? I mean, those are one of my, exercised extreme restraint and bit my tongue and not say, you know what, you are one of the biggest fucking jackasses I've ever heard. And I've heard my share in the day. I mean, what's also ridiculous is that a State Department employee, civil servant, would actually respond to the American community. Okay, nobody else was concerned. Nobody else thought anything of it. I mean, I was just fit to be tied. I was like, excuse me. One of the reasons why I left the United States was all the freaking cocaine snorting that was going on all over the place. And what do I care? And I don't want one of the reasons that my children went to the French school in Bogota, and I didn't want them, they had already been in the French school. My ex-husband, it was a war that I wouldn't even started. However, even if that hadn't been an issue with my ex-husband, I didn't want them in the American school. It was filled with entitled brats and drugs. Okay, my children, when we got, they were 3 and 5, but they were going to grow up, and I didn't want them around any of that stuff. The drugs and the spoiled brats. The French school was also an elite school, but it wasn't like the American, which was just not down the street, but not too far away. So, the Americans need to take a real hard look at what they are doing and what they've been doing for a long time. And Sean Penn, this is why I went, ballistic when they attacked Sean Penn with his El Chapo Speaks article in 2016. That's what set me off in 2016 with all of my blogging. I said, how dare you people belittle and berate Sean Penn? Also, I love to journalists. He's not a journalist. I'm like, excuse me, the ones you criticizing him are not journalists either. The journalism industry really needs to be cleaned up. But what I wanted Sean Penn to do was to start attacking. He has the money, he had cause, and he has the public, profile to stand up to all of these people and sue the different media outlets who are attacking him under freedom of speech issues. I was like, I tried to get through Maura Buxbaum, bitch. But she can't be bothered with little people. Saying, Maura Buxbaum, you should be out there calling everybody out and saying, stand down. Sean Penn is right. You shut the F up. What I've been doing, I've been a PR person. Oh, Lord. Sean Penn also does not have the best judgment when it comes to wives. I like, what's his second wife's name? I forget. I like her, what she does as an actress. But a particular interview about Sean Penn after they got divorced, I thought was so classless, so classless. So then we've got, so that's Ann, so Ann Patterson. So then her husband is David Patterson. He, I don't know, the ladies in the FACO, the American Women's Club's ladies in Bogota told me that he was CIA. I don't know if he's CIA. They say it was, you know, foreign service. I'm not really sure. That's rather sketchy on his Wikipedia profile. However, he is an expert on Sunni Shiites. So I went to a presentation. My ex had been invited through the bank or something. It was at the Club de Banqueros. And so my ex, he knew that would interest me. So he, you know, he, this is where he tries to appear the loving, supportive husband, because he knew I'd jump at the chance, but that I couldn't do anything really with the information. But I was interested in going, so I said, yeah. And we went. And of course, at the end, I stand up because it was informative in terms of historical facts. But, you know, there was really not much insight. And I got up and I asked at the end of the presentation, I said, you know, yeah, but will these people ever be able to live together, you know, without killing each other? And he was like, oh, well, that's what we'll see. Well, I do have the answer right now. I mean, in the interim years, with everything that I've been gone through and all of my research, I'm like, yeah, well, that's not going to happen by itself. And we need to get rid of the things that are propelling that. They're not just going to play nice, because there's a lot of issues that need to be addressed that won't be addressed by dropping bombs. Okay, so then we get Samantha Powers. I'll put these all into this same basket. Valerie Jarrett, Mylène Verveer, Samantha Powers. These are all feminist, but for various reasons. Samantha Powers didn't get a letter from me, but Valerie Jarrett did, and Mylène Verveer did, because I'm pretty sure it was the Mylène Verveer letter, and this is way back at the beginning. The American government had a their policy was, this was their rah-rah, we're going to give accord refugee status to victims of domestic abuse in foreign countries that you know, can't be protected there. One of the points I said, okay, what are you guys going to start doing? All the countries are going to do that. So you're going to export all of your victims to another country? Address the problems in your own country so they don't have to flee. Not rocket science. So, yeah, okay. So I was going to do Queen Oprah. Actually, no. Wait a sec, what I got here. Yeah, let me do this other one. No, I don't know. We'll do Queen Oprah because I got another one. Sorry. Okay, Queen Oprah and Meghan Markle, Hollywood and Silicon Valley psychos. I spoke with Ken Mollman, who was acting chair of the Libertarian Party. And I'm like, would you please support my calling for a total investigation? What I sent to, because who I've directed this is the Attorney General Garland and FBI Director. It's not coming to my brain at the moment. So the Attorney General and the FBI Ray, FBI Director Ray, to start an investigation. To actually, I've advanced on my this I think it's a little bit today. So all of the people that I have, and this is just my case alone that I've used, but every, you know, the Fourth Reich, the think tanks, the NGOs, the academia that's not doing its job, everybody. We have the evidence, we have the names, because believe me, once the ball starts rolling, just like in the mafia. See, that's how protection rackets work. Once they start selling you out, everybody starts ratting them all out. So I told him, Ken Molman, I said, because he's IT and we were talking about the problems of IT and the patchwork, and that it just needs to be totally revamped, and everybody just wants to sell more crap. And I said, you know what my solution for Silicon Valley is? Lost cause. Just build one huge psychiatric ward and put them all in. I'm like, I don't think there's another solution at this point, because those people are freaking wacko. And I spent 2 years all the way across the United States, in Spain, in France, looking for capital venture money for my global expats. And I'm as much an expert on those issues, because when I do something, I mean, my mom is also one of the reasons. She was like, okay, I'm going to show you. She would tell me as a child, she would be like, you never fail at anything you do. So I think she was like, okay, I'm gonna see how far you can go without failing. Well, still kicking. So and what? Okay, Hollywood. I guess in a nutshell, my favorite is Bill Maher. He said, what I like about coming to Washington is it makes the people in Hollywood look sincere. I think that's probably the best thing to say about the people in Hollywood. It's putting the bar pretty damn low, but well, which of course brings us to Queen Oprah and Meghan Markle. I mean, Oprah Winfrey. Okay, first, her, you know, I had a Rip Van Winkle returning when I came to the United States. I mean, I was like, one of my favorite was, what do you mean Jay Leno is retired? I'm still trying to get used to him losing out to Joan Rivers. That's how old I am. And how long I had been gone. So Oprah Winfrey, I'm like, what? And you guys, because I remember her from the Color Purple. I loved the movie, you know, wonderful actress, but that's all I had really known about her. And I was like, oh my God, this is, you know, they've just modernized Let's Make a Deal and all of those, you know, game shows that used to exist in the 70s. Come on down. And we got presents for everybody. You know, she would just give away presents. So of course, people would go there and get lots and lots of goodies. And of course they loved her. They were her friend. And you know, she is totally left-wing extremist, totally left-wing feminist extremist. Another, how are you having it all, lady? I mean, my younger sister who is out in Telluride, she was saying, oh, the people in Telluride, she's arrogant, and she had built something, an elevator for cars, or once again, these rags to riches and this extravagance, and there's a story in this one, I have to remember that one. that is obscene. And this is, of course, why we have this income inequality. So the grappling up the ladder of success and social mobility has not been a positive thing, not because it cannot be a positive thing. It hasn't been a positive thing because the people who have risen to power, and again, Twang and Campbell, read that book, they document it all. The root, the symptoms, the the illnesses it's creating, the problems that it's creating, and then recommendations. This is, I'm like, you can't just tell people be nice. I mean, you can if they're a good faith, but then they be nice anyway. So, and Meghan Markle, I go into really, great lengths of that with the Prince Harry, but you talk. Where is Queen Elizabeth? If that was my grandson, are you kidding? I mean, I would be over. This is, this is yet another example of, I mean, I'm sorry, her children, they were pawns. Okay, it's institutionalized, it's acceptable. But, at the same time that women's lib and women should be forced into a marriage, Charles was in an arranged marriage by Lord Mountbatten with a, dumb blonde thing that was not suited to him at all. If he had had a diligent mother, he had a mother who was, not a career woman, she would have been like, no freaking way, that's not for him. And Prince Andrew had wanted to my understanding, I mean, I don't know if they were going to get married, but that was, the love of his life and his serious relationship. This is another thing why all of this Virginia Giuffre stuff, if you look into the background of these people, their history, you quickly see, well, wait a second, this doesn't fit. But he wasn't allowed to marry the woman. She wasn't appropriate because she was a Hollywood actress who apparently had been in an R-rated movie, not an X-rated, an R-rated movie. Oh, showed her tits. But I mean, and then Meghan Markle is acceptable. This is okay. We're talking, well, maybe 30 years later, but still, Meghan Markle is acceptable. And excuse me, Meghan Markle, Lady Colin Campbell talks about this as well. She gets away with all sorts of crap. She did, and she does, that she would never have gotten away with if she was a white British, upper crust. Doesn't have to be a aristocracy. But if you look, Kate Middleton, she's not from, okay, she's not from a poor family, but she is from a commoner family. But the girl has class. And that's why you see the difference between those two girls. And Meghan Markle, the way she is cashing in on Princess Di and the royal family, and that to become, I don't know, there's speculation she wants to become president. I said, no, she wants to be queen. She's vying with, mark my words, if she got enough, but I think she's crashing and burn. I don't think that she will be ever in competition for Oprah. But I could promise you, if they both got, if we got to just the feminist, and then it became a fight between the yellow, blacks, browns, then, oh, and the whites. That's what I'm thinking of. Everybody will start, to end up at the top. And that is their ultimate game. Okay, so yeah, let's okay, let's do this one. Expat wives clubs. I mean, I've talked about Federation of American Women's Clubs overseas, the IMF Family Association, World Bank Family Network, UN LESA, Local Expat Spouse Association, several times. So that, and that's basically the same model that I've been using for global expats. I'm just by myself because nobody likes me. But it's the same idea to assist expat families. I'm just not there to produce coffee mornings and social climbing things, which is what they are, and why I came up with the idea for global expats. I had hoped to work with them and say, ladies, you need to start being a little bit less egocentric and a little bit more listening to what your constituency, because Federation of American Women's Clubs overseas, it's FACO, is the largest and most well organized and probably the best funded. Is by corporate, but they do get support from State Department and the embassies, but it only attracts, I don't even think it gets to 7,000 members each year. We have 7 million Americans living abroad. Most of the expats do not, and I say FACO is the most successful, because, for example, the Spanish Expat Wife Club in Bogota, the only reason I became a member and got involved in any of that was because my husband, my ex-husband's boss, and all of the BBV people were in it, and their wives were on the board. So I couldn't very well not become a member and try and participate. Although I was persona non grata. I was told many years later, this is when I'm already back in Madrid, because these women hated me. I mean, they despised me. And I mean, I didn't understand why, because I'd never, I always, like, anytime a new wife, BBB wife would come in, I'd have a luncheon for the wife with, everybody from BBB, the BBB wives, and then, just people, women that I thought they should meet and be helpful. And then a dinner for the husbands with the wives, with everybody invited. I was never invited to anything, I was never, but I said, okay, I've done my duty. And, you know, nobody can fault me for not being, you know, doing my duty. But they hated me. I even had an altercation with him at the end, but that was after, see, the winds of war had changed, and the new president of BBV, we were friends with. So then I could attack them for what they were doing with their money. I attacked them. I sent them a letter and I said, could I have some explanations here? Because none of this makes sense on your financials. It wasn't appreciated at all. However, it was my understanding that the ambassador's wife who came in, because that was under control of the old ambassador's wife, and she came in, I don't know if my letter had anything to do with it or what happened, but apparently I heard she cleaned that up right away, which it needed to be, and which is why it's important for these ambassador wives to be involved in what's going on, and also have some ambassadors with some morals and scruples, as well as their wives, as well as corporate people. Because is that another cesspool? Both. I mean, you talk about your prima donnas and your corrupt people, or your amoral people. So, you know, I was a member of expat wives clubs in Paris and Brussels, Madrid, even, useless. But I mean, these things really, they need to be reformed, just like everything else. They're not fulfilling the mission, their mission statement. So anyway, I'll go on to, I'm gonna get up to 2 hours. So I'll just cut short here. And Beatrix Keller, I'll just mention. So what happened with the IMF Family Association, I got a job there in 2009. I briefly worked in a restaurant as a hostess, 701. But then I got this temp job at the IMF Family Association. I was like, oh, thank you, Lord. I actually thought that the IMF spouses would be interested in the global expats, because also it's constructed to make a lot of money off the website, $1 billion in advertising, or around that. And produce a lot of jobs for the other expat wives, not just ourselves. Oh, no. They were too busy looking for jobs and trying to get there, you know, get into Washington. And I mean, my thing was, well, as an expat, we have housing paid for, we have all of these different things paid for, and these generous salaries. I have the luxury of staying at home with the kids, but it's just more, so they can go out and spend more. So when I started there, no files, no organizational system, just like every place else. I mean, I thought it was just a Bogota guy. And I put together a whole thing, and I gave it to the ambassador's wife and all of the board members who came in after. I said, here is a copy. Please, because we didn't have any, you know, computer system or anything. Please make sure that the person, that you keep this up to date, and that the person who follows you gets a copy. And I made sure the ambassador's wife, I said, please keep, somebody has a copy of this, because I know these ladies, I'm sure the files are a mess these days there. So when I went into the IMF Family Association, I put together all of that we cleaned up the office. It took me about 5 months. They were all on vacation for 3 months. So I had really the 3 months, a lot of it just to clean out. They have going back to the 60s archives. So I cleaned all of that up. All of the financials had to be kept. So I had to go through every single thing. But that was all cleaned up. Everything was organized. There was an organizational system. The computer files system was all put in place. I found, because I did a search, that was how I was able to construct the filing system. Now, this is the IMF. I mean, oh, it was just the family association. Well, no, because when Anne Beatrice Keller, she came in because the Frances McRae, who was the chair when I started, had stepped down because her husband was sent back to Canada. It was the AED. And so Anne Beatrice Keller raised her hand to come in. Now, I now know she did that because she saw the opportunity to take all the credit for my work, because what she spent the entire time, it was about a year, doing was bad-mouthing me to HR and telling them that I was a useless idiot, because believe me, I put two and two together. At the end of it, this was calculated. And when she got rid of me, workplace bullying in the IMF, the whole report is there. I told her, I said, you do know what you're doing is illegal. I know, I don't care. Domestic violence extremists, the sovereign citizens. Now, I've sent a whole slew of names of terrorists that are in this town. Top to bottom. Nobody will investigate. And these people are terrorists. But they're protected. I mean, trickle down didn't work because you got people like that in there. How is the Sustainable Development Goals, which is basically the same thing, except, gone global, packaged up a little bit differently and sold to a different audience, but some of them are the same. It's just going to create the same problem. Of course. Yeah, I've spoken about Paula Lucas. I believe I've mentioned Elizabeth LaGrange. She's the World Bank Domestic Violence Coordinator, World Bank and IMF. She's the go-to person for IMF and World Bank staff and their family members, anybody in domestic violence issues, problems. Elizabeth LaGrange. You should read your mail. You should be a little bit more diligent. You know me, you know my work. I've been to see you a number of times. What have you done? Ka-cha-ching, ka-cha-ching, ka-cha-ching. See, this is it's rampant everywhere. Yeah, Anne Sinclair, I've already spoke about. Yeah, Anne Sinclair, when the whole DSK, Dominique Strauss-Kahn affair exploded, and his infidelities were exposed, and I don't believe that was a political ploy by the Sarkozy camp to bring him down. So that's why in these type of cases, really the people launching these accusations it needs to be taken a good look at all of the different circumstances. Because there is, there could be a financial interest that they're being paid, or they're just getting up on a podium. Believe me, a lot of these women are sick and they'll do anything to get up on a podium. Anything to get a camera on them. God knows why, but which is on, I don't know. So, Anne Sinclair is like, I heard rumors. Oh, il y avait des rumeurs. Il y avait des rumeurs, mais je peux pas savoir. There were rumors, but, I didn't know. There are always rumors. I mean, with a powerful man, everybody's trying to take him down. And so they just spread all of these lies about him. I'm sorry. I can assure you, as a wife, if I start hearing some rumors, I'm not going to believe everything that anybody says. I'm going to take things with a grain of salt, depending on whose mouth it comes from. But if I start hearing rumors, plural, I'm going to start checking some evidence. That's just me, ladies. You can live in denial all your life if you want, but doesn't end well. Okay, so I got a joker with Nancy Pelosi on it. Feminist Nazi. I think I've already told the story about Nancy Pelosi and sending me to the back of the line. Nancy Pelosi is no different than Trump in terms of extremist. I mean, Hillary Clinton. Well, there are a lot of them. I can't, there's too many of them up there to keep tabs on who's the biggest bitch and control freak and alpha-dominance feminist, but definitely I'm going to start taking out those that I've already done. Okay, so oh my Lord. Okay, I'm just looking at the time. So here, because I know nobody listens to any, anything more than a tweet is too much. Oh yeah, the congressional hearings on July 27, 21, that was about the January 6th insurrection. So I think I might have already said that I did, or maybe I didn't explain this, but when I saw that Stephen Sund, S-U-N-D, who is the chief of Capitol Hill Police, resigned the day after the insurrection, I just thought, oh gosh, I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall to hear what Nancy Pelosi went off on. I'm sure there were others, but went off on this chief of police that it was his fault. I mean, there had to be some pretty strong words for the man to resign the next day. So, I was just like, excuse me? The Capitol Hill Police should be getting pissed off with Congress because they're putting their asses on the line. They're the front line. When the bloodbath begins, They're the first to go down, and they're there to protect these assholes. I mean, I've already talked about that. I'm sorry when I hear these guys. That's what it's Aquilino, Gonel, Harry Dunn, Michael Fanone, and Daniel Hodges testified, you know, how they were traumatized and PSTD and everything that goes along with it. Excuse me, we've been up on Capitol Hill for 10 years, and we have horrific cases where people are living under terrible fear. There is an underground railroad type of thing still going on for the victims. They're hiding. One case of it's on more on domestic terrorism. That was probably the most well-known. The first, the mother sought refugee status in Holland, and she was afforded it. And within the domestic violence arena, they are very, very, very clear. You know, they won't tell you not to do it, because if you were really in fear for the life of your children, then you have no option. But if you go down that road and you take that risk, you will be pursued by the FBI. You know, if you go international, this is Interpol. You're taking, you know, you're basically on the run for the rest of your life, because even when your children age out, they can still come after you. This is why when I hear little girls crying about being touched and made them feel uncomfortable, you know, ridiculous touching, I just want to explode. And this is, of course, the hypocrisy that, see, the women, they don't build bombs and get their, you know, machine guns and go to shopping malls and schools or things like that. But they get angry too. They give you an earful. Oh my God. All they do, and you know, so neither side is the solution. But people have got to start looking at reality and listening to some people with brains. And they're few and far between in Washington. So I did write a letter to Stephen Sund. You have cause. You resigned. You have, you know, been a victim of damages because the people who should be pointed a finger at are not the police, it's Congress. And the police should help me point that finger. So use your situation, use your, you know, the press. You can definitely support that. No, the police shouldn't be investigated. It's Congress who should be investigated. Why the hell do we have people at our doors trying to overtake the government? When I first started working on Capitol Hill in '81, no security whatsoever, no badges, no, you know, what do you call it? Metal detector, nothing. But then, of course, oh, and the first bomb I forget which year that was, but the first bomb was a group of feminists. I mean, this whole thing of let's just get the women to be soldiers like the men, not working out too good. So then there's it's Gus Papathan Shui, I'm not sure. Great. Greek. And he's the head of the labor committee, director of the labor committee. So of course I bucked the letter over to them and said, you should get together with Stephen's son and, excuse me, the labor committee, the police, Capitol Hill Police Labor Committee really has a responsibility to be asking the same questions that I am, because it is your labor force that's putting its ass on the line. And you do have a voice, you do have a group to assist in challenging this. Ever heard back? Of course not, never. Everybody just ignores me till I go away. So, and the current one is Thomas Manger. He's in the same situation. So then we get to Succotash, back to Succotash Restaurant. Now, this gets into an altercation, because this is one of my things with Gus. Welcome the huddled masses. But if you just come here to cash in, I mean, this is what I have to say about Cuomo's family. I mean, you know, his father was a politician. If you look, he had a very noble platform. That I know there were no scandals, and the rest of, you know, this is the first scandal that you've heard, and it's bullshit. So yeah, I mean, that's one of the things with me with my French nationality. I have an obligation to uphold democracy in France, which is what I'm doing with my case against the French, because it gets into the same issues. And what nobody seems to, particularly my family, after 15 years of explaining ad nauseum that what I am doing is not some sort of revenge against, I won't even go there, because there's so many wacko, I'm like, wait a second, because that's the type of thing that goes on in your head. So go and write some science fiction novel or something that you're living, because you live in La La Land. But you know, every citizen has an obligation to contribute to the community, and the, you know, as I told Stavros, who I was pissed off. I told him, I said, I'll be damned if I'm going to let a bunch of foreigners come into my country and trash it. My compatriots are already doing enough good job of that. Thank you very much. They don't need any help from you guys. Go back to your own country and trash it there. The ones who seem to you know, go from one to another, at least these days, they're okay. Some are fleeing, you know, wars and poverty and misery. But all too many, and this is just as much with the corporate and the diplomatic corps. Believe me, I even have more anger for them because they're leading the charge. So this gets into the next card. This at Succotash, there was a, her name was Desiree, Tamara Desiree. And the other was Kalisha, I forget how to pronounce it, Kalisha Ross. So Tamara Desiree Hakim, she's South African. And she was actually I lost out as John Dickinson, and she was the Black Marilyn Monroe that won the Halloween competition. I mean, it was a bunch of the employees. But anyway, her father was apparently some, you know, she says right-hand person for Nelson Mandela in South Africa, and you know, very, very close. And I'm like, yes, okay, this is exactly what I'm talking about, why we have a problem. You talk about your prima donna. I mean, and when she told me she had one of the, I guess there was a 2-bedroom apartment or where they were lower, maybe, but one of the bedrooms she had set up as her dressing room. And it would take her 2 hours in the morning to put on her makeup and get dressed and all of that. I was like, her poor husband. I think I would be ready to be locked up in a psychiatric ward after the first year of marriage to this woman. Now, this is exactly, okay, she's not in South Africa creating havoc, she's here. And she was like the youngest child out of 5, 6, 7, I don't know, but spoiled rotten, entitled, narcissistic, just over the top. And one time, Jason, the owner, he just looked at her and he said, really? This bullshit was so incredible. And I'll never forget the look on his face. And I'm like, I use that now. I'm like, this is a Jason, really? Moment of like, come on. Not even the dumbest bimbo in the world could believe that one. Like with Como's case. So she and this Kalisha. So Kalisha, she's Ethiopian. Now she works at the State Department. This is her second job. Why she needs a second job when she's working at the State Department, I'm not positive. But she's working at the State Department as a domestic violence specialist. And always, oh no, what I do is extremely confidential. It's extremely confidential. I can't talk about anything that I do. I was like, why? What is the State Department doing with the domestic violence expert? You know, I was like, okay, well, you don't want to tell me what you do. We'll find out the hard way. But particularly because she, I mean, okay, she wasn't like Desiree, but she was a piece of work. So she had, I believe it was a cousin, but, and this, so he's this Ethiopian man who comes and starts, and he starts, and I'm like, are you guys sure about this, because I don't even know if he's trainable. I think I tried to, probably had to explain things to him, and I was like, I want to let go. Somebody there? I don't know. I think also there was some issues with some drugs involved, and people were constantly like, where is he? No, he's out in the back behind, probably doing some, that was the rumor. I don't know. I don't get involved. I, do my job. You want me to train somebody, I'll train them. You'll have another one next month. So what's the big deal? Anyway, I come in one day, and for my shift, and they're like, oh Lord, you should have seen, I forget what his name is, X. You should have seen what happened last night with him. When they tell me, because apparently I'm not sure, I think the cops might have actually been called, and for him to leave, and he was furious because Victoria Gredia, the general manager, was like out, and so he was furious. And quite frankly, the second I heard the story, I asked the person, I said, okay, what did those bitches do? And they told, well, they didn't know the entire story, but yes, they were constantly, I mean, they did and said something to set that guy off. And that's why, as well, he became so angry and so aggressive when the general manager out. But if the general manager had known, when I came in, I said, okay, what did those two bitches do? I knew right away that the guy shouldn't have been there in the first place. I mean, he just wasn't working out. But and I said that, I said, but if they wanted to get rid of him, that's not the way. Particularly, I think this is a cousin, or, cousins in those families can be 5 times removed. A family member. So, State Department, see, you have to be careful who you're hiring and who you're employing. So this is the last one, the NFL. Now, I guess the only thing that I want to say about this one right now is that when I was doing, all of my research, because I've gone through documentaries, everything. Now I found there was one documentary, and these are documentaries. This is not a bunch of wacko podcasts, or these are legitimate documentaries with research, with facts, with witnesses, with testimonies, with everything. It's all out there. But within the NFL, and this also gets into the QAnon stuff, and it's not the entire NFL, but yes, there is a group within the NFL and a sect that is actually breeding. They have women who are getting pregnant, having babies, and these babies are born and told from the time they're tiny, children, that they were brought into this world to serve as sex slaves. This is going on in the United States. So you're starting to get the picture of why the attacks on Governor Cuomo just are out of this world with what's going on in reality, and what needs to be addressed, and what, you know, the real perpetrators. This is why, you know, I can't get anywhere with the feminists. That's why the second that I hear a case like this, I'm like, ding, 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 wait a second. Let's look into all of the different allegations and accusations. Because you go after smoke where there's no fire, and we got a frickin', you know, 9/11 type of situation, but it's not there. Nothing's wrong. Nothing's wrong. So I didn't with the first one. I'll do, oh, here I get, oh, where's mine? Oh, I get a king. Quenby trumps an emperor with no clothes. I mean, that was my 2020 videos that I did. And I get one there. We're at 4. Oh my goodness, I'm leaving one over 2 hours, I think. Sorry. See, if you get me talking all of this stuff, my Lord, I could talk your ear off for hours and hours and hours and hours, and you give me a laptop and I can get on and check on a lot of these things. I'm like, wait, let me check on this date. Be here for a week. Okay, so first one, second pile, third pile, and so the NFL is there. Succotash was here. So for Capitol Hill, Alice in Wonderland says, consider my dear, she is only a child. Oh my goodness, did I not mix these up? Hold on. Yeah, I didn't. I'm trying to start earlier, but I had different stuff going on. Okay. First one. This is for Capitol Hill. I am real. If I wasn't real, I shouldn't be able to cry. The people are real. Their problems are real. Their tears are real. It's not just a figment of their imagination. I have to admit, I love when Trump says that they had no bad intent. They weren't doing anything. They weren't breaking in. They weren't threatening you. It's a figment of your imagination. Gaslighting flies all the time. So why should I have to say I feel sorry for Trump, because he must feel that he's been hung out to dry, because all of his life he's had people around him who will cover up for all of this crap. He hasn't changed his MO. It's everybody around him that's changing their MO. This is what happens with all of these good friends. So for Succotash, Desiree, and Kailisha, oh, I've had such a curious dream. Yeah, with these two ladies, it is a curious dream. So for the NFL and their pedophiles, it's Tweedledee, or what is it? Tweedledum said Tweedledee had nice, excuse me, had spoiled his nice new rattle. The rattle, is that in reference to the babies that they're spoiling? I mean, when I saw that and I read that documentary, I was like, you have got to be kidding me. And they're getting away with it. Money has this whole, I mean, there is just, same with the football league, the European, the soccer. Too much money, too much advertising, same with the political parties. Okay, so for myself, this came back again. King of Hearts. Consider my dear, she is only a child. I guess because we're you know, dealing with a lot of kids. I don't know. But so that's it for today. Hopefully I won't have any comments for tomorrow and get through this quicker. But I mean, I hope at least it's informative. I'm trying not to repeat things. The problem is it's all over the map. That's why I'm like, okay, we'll go with some cards, pick a card, and because I mean, I realize by now my blogs, I mean, my God, it really needs to be put into a book. I have a book proposal. Lanny Davis is one I sent it to. No, I mean, he comes into Kalari. I even, I've talked to him. I mean, I've been willing to give people the benefit of the doubt, but I'm like, oh, you guys, come on. We're getting to the point where, no, it's not that you don't know. You don't want to know. And believe me, if I can find anybody of good faith, I'm more than willing to work with anybody good faith. But looking for a needle in a haystack. So again, wear your masks. And hopefully, I mean, because we're not out of the woods yet. And it looks like with all of these variants, it's not going to happen overnight. I don't know what God has in store for us. Sometimes I'm like, I'm tired of trying to guess. Okay, so have a good night. Thank you.